Hello, welcome to this interview with James Withall, the CEO of Rupert Resources. I'm Tom Hoskyns, editor of Mining Journal. James, the last time you spoke to Mining Journal was late last year, I believe, before the Agnico investment, and you just started making some discoveries. Clearly the world's a pretty different place now, but you've been making great progress on the exploration front. And your latest target, Ikkari, has caused quite a stir in the market. Perhaps you'd like to tell us why there's been so much interest in this target.
Well, hi, Tom, and thanks very much, Mining Journal, for hosting this. I guess we did an interview back in December last year that a few of you might have watched. And since then, we've been pushing on with the exploration, and our latest discovery, so to speak, is Ikkari. I guess it really was a standout hole. We only have two holes into this new target, but I guess it was the sheer length of the continuous mineralization, 137 meters at 1.8 grams in hole 42, and then the other hole we have into the target, which was 54 meters at 1.5 grams. So yeah, very significant intercepts on a major structural corridor that we've been exploring, and certainly whilst we've made some very good discoveries, these do stand out from everything else that we've been doing.
Okay, great. It'd just be good at this point to get a little recap on the company strategy and the approach.
Yeah, so I guess just to give you a sense of our licenses, again, just to revisit that, northern Finland, up sort of 60 kilometers southeast of the Kittilä mine, which is owned by Agnico Eagle, obviously Europe's largest gold mine, certainly by resources. And that whole belt has, even in the last 6 months since I did the last interview, it continues to be a real hive of activity for modern exploration for gold. And I think you hear a lot more about it over the coming years ahead as people take more and more attention to it. But I guess just to reassess our strategy, for some people, you probably know my background. I was at Baker Steel Capital Managers for many years, the fund manager, and we run this exploration company effectively like a fund management company. We look to asset allocate, or we have a series of assets that we have inside the company, exploration assets they are, or targets, certainly at part of our project. And then we do a lot of time ranking those and then allocate our funds that we have available to the highest prospectivity, potentially highest returning targets. And we continue to reassess that on a rolling basis. So I pulled together a great team to do that, mostly Finnish geologists, but also with a very senior exploration manager that came across to us, Dr. Charlotte Siebert from Newcrest. And then we built a model for this whole region, exploration region. We have a very large land package, 300 square kilometers, and we're continuously, assessing new targets and developing them and moving them forward. So this is really we made our first discoveries just over a year ago in what we call Area 1. If you read the press releases, that's a certain part of our licenses. And then from then on, we now have 6 new discoveries, including Ikkari within this, which is an area about 5 kilometers by 2 kilometers of our license area, which is effectively 40 kilometers long by 7.5 kilometers wide. So that's really the strategy. We just keep on prioritizing, ranking how those targets develop. And I'd say we moved very much from what was probably a proof of concept stage, probably September last year. And now, obviously, I feel we're a lot further than that. We're delivering some great new discoveries.
So was there a particular trigger for Agnico coming in?
So Agnico obviously been, they are the only big gold operating company in this part of the world. We have seen other companies come into the region on exploration. So Kinross are there. On their own right now, B2 Gold are operating just next door to us. But obviously Agnico have had, they bought the Kittilä operation and they had their first production in 2009. So they're very established in the region. And so they have a lot of knowledge. So they've been following what we've been doing effectively for the last couple of years. And as we made the first discoveries a year ago, they've begun to look more seriously. And then as we really rolled out the drilling and we started this 15-kilometer regional exploration campaign in September onwards and started to pull out the discoveries at Hain Essential, they got more and more interested. So it's been they're very disciplined approach to those guys. And so they liked what we were doing, and it took a while to understand how we could work together. And that ultimately sort of culminated late last year, and the financing that we did with them, and they took a 9.9% stake for $13.1 million in February of this year. So it's very much a partnership though. We have a technical committee that we work together, and it's good to put their brains about geology in the area with ours, and hopefully lead to even more discoveries.
I was going to say, has it led to any changes since they've come on board?
I think importantly, we had a very systematic approach and a very well thought out strategy to how we were exploring. So hasn't really made any changes. What it has though is obviously bringing their guys to look at what we're doing, and us having a look at what they're doing on the exploration side. We see that only as potentially enhancing what we do. They do have some warrants in place to increase their stake up to 15%, to put in another $11.5 million at $1 a share. So I think we see it as a good ongoing relationship, and obviously they like the results that they've already seen from us.
Yeah. Now, obviously, it'd be remiss of us not to talk about the pandemic in some way, because that's what everyone really wants to know in terms of how miners are being affected, and a lot of miners are being affected across the world. But it seems like you've managed to get off fairly lightly so far. Is that's the case?
Yeah, I think Finland. Obviously, this has a very small population and a relatively large country, so it's quite disparate. Certainly the municipality, Sodankala, where our guys live and where the mine is located, and really where everyone is working, they haven't had any cases, luckily. That said, the Finns were relatively quick to sort of put in a semi-lockdown to the situation. But that hasn't stopped anyone actually doing any work. You can carry on your work. We've changed some of our work practices and things like that, as people have done here. So social distancing in the offices, or as well as we can, and in the work areas. And obviously we are just drilling, and our drills are remote to the site, so they just drop off material. So you can continue doing exploration very well. I guess so. We have been able to, apart from the labs, obviously they slowed down, and the ability for them to operate, it's been relatively continuous. Obviously, I haven't been to Finland for 11 weeks because I've been in this room, well, not this room, but at home for 11 weeks, as many of us have been. But I think we don't have many expats, so we don't have any really, apart from Charlie, and she lives up there. And so we haven't had to repatriate anyone. So our entire team is just carrying on going to work every day. So they seem somewhat insulated from the situation.
Yeah. Do you have any idea when you might be able to get out there?
Not at this point in time, because they effectively closed borders in Finland. So they probably don't want anyone coming from the UK at this time. But and then there's some restrictions. Even if I went there at the moment, I'd have to isolate for 2 weeks. So that's not practical. So look, we were very well set up IT-wise. We all work remotely. So doing video conferencing and everything is part of our daily life, and always has been. And certainly the way the IT works for us, it's kind of normal, which is we're just fortunate in that position. Yeah.
And so last week you guys put out an announcement about mine exploration. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I guess people often ask us about where does the mine fit in. So we have this permitted gold mine that we bought, and that's right at the heart of all our license area at Vara. And so we put out a resource in 2018, and we really, we didn't struggle, but the previous operators struggled to understand the deposit. So we weren't going to repeat those issues. So we spent a lot of time understanding that the geology at the mine, and really getting to grips with that. And so that's really resulted in the sort of results you're seeing now. So when I first joined the company, the sort of hit rate on exploration drilling was sort of 1 in 5. Now we're getting sort of 4 in 5, and our confidence in that deposit and our ability to potentially grow it is really coming about. So I think it sits alongside our exploration projects as a very high priority target for us, and high priority program. And the next stage for that, we'll move it forward to an updated resource on the mine as well.
Okay, great. And just to sort of wrap up, what are the sort of top 3 things that you're working on in the near term?
So I guess the mine exploration, we cut off the drilling for a new resource a couple of weeks ago now, and so we have actually carried on doing a little bit more drilling there. So there'll be some news to come from that, trying to extend some of these new areas, new high grade areas that we've already found over the last 6 to 12 months. We'll then be getting back into drilling our regional targets again. We're just in that hiatus period right now when the snow melts. It's a bit hard to move gear around, but then you'll see us back into drilling those. But we still have in the order of 3,000 meters of regional exploration drilling that we have yet to release from over the last few months. So that's on other targets in Area 1 and what we've been doing. So you'll see more news on those. And then obviously we retain one diamond rig and a basic tool rig all the time, finding and testing new targets. So we don't expect it to be too much of a let up in news.
Okay, great. It sounds like an exciting few months, certainly on the exploration side. So looking forward to hearing more about that. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. And hopefully we'll speak again in a few months' time.
Thanks, Tom. Much appreciated. Thanks, Barney, John. Cheers. Bye.